Ladies and gentlemen, grab your pen and paper and write down 3 things you're grateful for. This is OD on Life. Come get high with us.
Hey everybody, this is Dan O'Donnell, and I'm here with Rachel, and how do I say your last name right? Mazza. Okay, so Rachel Mazza, that's M-A-Z-Z-A, and this is the first episode, and we're just discussing what the title of the podcast is going to be. I think it's going to be OD on Life, because my initials are O'Donnell, so it's very clever, and the tagline, I think, is going to be Come Get High with Us. So why not, right?
Life.
Unless a
kids.
great sponsor doesn't like that. So yeah, so that's the idea of this podcast, because it's the first one. I'll tell you what we're shooting for is that every time you listen to an episode of this podcast, you walk away with something that can make your life a little better. And we're going to try to keep it entertaining too, so that it's not, you don't feel like you're sitting in a classroom, and it's going to be pretty unscripted. I kind of work off of an outline, and we'll just kind of go in the direction that sounds fun and productive. So again, I'm with Rachel Mazza. And I was looking at your Facebook and your website and stuff to just get some talking points for today. Your hometown is Rochester, but I also see you graduated high school in Illinois.
Yes.
So how long were you? My family's from the Buffalo and Lockport area, so not too far down the road. Yeah. I never lived there, but my mom and dad came from the Buffalo area.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Rochester, and how'd that all go?
I did, and it's funny you bring this up because I think this is one of the bane of many travelers' existence, is that question, where are you from? Because I've lived in Rochester, actually trained tigers for a while in Miami.
I was going to make a joke about that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then I went to school in Chicago, and that's where I got my first apartment, and that's where I ate ramen when I was broke and made friends in college. And so I think I consider Chicago my hometown, but I have a lot of great memories in the very
Is Naperville basically Chicago? Is that a suburb?
Naperville's a suburb of Chicago, so
Okay.
that's where my parents live, and then I moved to the city like any young, energetic
So how
person.
far could you go have dinner on the weekend?
Yeah, it's about 45 minutes by train and car.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
You can see them, but they're not around the corner and all that.
Exactly.
They're not driving by on Friday night at your place.
Exactly. It's a trip still.
Cool. And so, all right, let's go with this, because you just said you trained tigers in Miami. Was that after college? Or?
It was right after. Was it after college? It was right after college, and I was going to go to Bangkok and start teaching English in Thailand, and there just so happened to be some giant political unrest, which is also ironic because we have a coup going on right now. So being the young, safe person that I was, I decided that it wasn't a good time to go to Thailand.
The risk-adverse tiger training.
Yeah, so instead of going to Thailand where there's all this political unrest, where I am now living, I decided to go to an exotic animal training apprenticeship in Miami instead. And I lived about half and half between Miami and Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a lot of work, and it ended up not being for me just because it was very restrictive on your life. But I got to run around with wolf pups in the yard and feed baby tigers with bottles and sleep with monkeys in my bed. So it's kind of cool.
So it was, when you say it was restrictive, I mean, was you live, eat, breathe?
Yeah, it was basically almost like the military, I guess. You have to live on the reservation. They control what you eat. They control when you work out, what you do all day. You're not allowed to leave, really. So it's just I know it sounds a little crazy, but it's because the work is so intense. You're working with these potentially dangerous wild animals, and so basically your entire mind and body has to be focused on this. And I don't think I was ready for that level of restriction.
Right.
So I ended up leaving about halfway through and started traveling instead.
And so that place was, did you say it was a reservation? Were they outside, or?
It's a conservation organization, so they have different reservations around the country, and then also a couple around the world, conservation. So what they do is they do shows at local theme parks to raise money for the animals, and then they have anywhere between 15 or 50 acre reservation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so are they some of these like endangered and protected animals?
Yeah. So it's tigers, lions, bears.
Are tigers endangered? I don't know.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of them?
All of them. Oh,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I think there's, I don't know if this is true, but someone told me there's more tigers in captivity than there are in the wild now.
And that's sort of what I was getting at, because I know there are people out there listening who are already mad at you because you train tigers, right?
Yeah.
But I've had this discussion with people. I went to San Diego and talked about how I went to the zoo, and people got on me about it at Positive Atmosphere and the Positive Thinking Facebook page. And I said, you guys, I mean, I don't know every detail about the San Diego Zoo, And of course, people link it with things like SeaWorld, which in my
Right.
mind are very different. You know, the San Diego Zoo, it's okay, these kids that live in San Diego aren't probably going to fly to somewhere in the jungle in Africa to go see a gorilla.
Right.
But if they see one in person, they're probably going to care a little bit more about gorillas after they leave.
Yep.
And and you know, some of these animals, even if they're in a zoo, they might not be able to make it in the wild for whatever reason, right? Maybe they have an injury, or they were found as an orphan baby and they had no chance of making it, and now they live in a zoo where they raise awareness, and then there are people there that are conservationists. They raise money, awareness.
Yep. I think
So
that's the issue, is how much good are you doing versus how controversially is it. So I guess a reservation is different than a zoo, is different
right,
than SeaWorld, is different than Elephant Nature Park here in Thailand. So it's like, um, I guess it's where do the animals come from, and what are you doing with them, and what's the purpose of it. So if it's
yeah,
for entertainment purposes only, like a lot of things are, like,
hmm
I don't know, I guess SeaWorld's a good example, then I don't know if that's necessarily ethical, but if out here in Thailand, there's a lot of elephant parks that rescue elephants from
hmm
logging jobs. I think they do logging, and then a
yeah,
lot of them are abused in
yeah. They
circuses and
get
on
hurt
street.
and they can't pay for the vet bill,
Yeah,
so
and so
they
they just rescue them. But
yeah.
then they also bring people to bathe and ride the elephants. So is that wrong, or are they? It's helping support these elephants.
I
So
wondered that because back
yeah,
in, I think it was early December, my mom came over here to Thailand and
yeah,
we hung out in Chiang Mai and went down to the islands and stuff because I've been here a lot and she had never seen it.
yeah,
And we went to the elephant conservation center near Lampang, just down the road. It looks like Lampang.
yeah, yeah.
My friend lives there, and we rode an elephant. And I didn't even really think about it at the time because the title was Elephant Conservation Center.
Right.
So now I'm kind of wondering. I know they have a hospital there where they, if, like I said, if an elephant gets sick and the people can't afford to get it care, they'll just give it, I think, to the conservation center
Yeah,
where they
I
get
don't know
care.
how that works.
So,
I know some are better than others,
I don't,
and
yeah, and
yeah,
and the guy, the mahout that was, taking us around on this elephant, I noticed the elephant stopped to eat a whole bunch of times,
yep.
and he never was like prodding it or yelling at it.
No,
The thing was eating, and we were just kind of sitting there in the jungle watching butterflies. It seemed fine to me,
I think
but
anything you have to, if you're really concerned about it, just go talk to the owners, do your research, do your homework.
yeah,
I mean, don't just freak out because someone's got elephants or tigers or whatever. I mean, look at who it is and what they're doing and why they're doing it. I think it's probably with anything, but
yeah. And I actually watched. I think I've lost track of which one it was. I watched a bunch of documentaries, but it might have been Blackfish. I don't know if you've seen that.
yeah,
And
I know there's some documentaries like counteracting that as well. So it's like there's a
yeah,
lot of
and who knows?
information.
But something I watched, it talked about when I believe it was SeaWorld or maybe another place that was rounding up. It was a roundup
Yep.
of killer whales in Washington State, where I'm from.
Wow.
And I mean, they were chasing them all around with spotting planes and boats, and the easiest ones to move are the small ones. So
Mhm.
they just took the babies away from their moms,
Yep.
and they're super social animals.
Yep.
Like they say, the part of their brain that has to do with relationships and stuff is actually more developed than that part of a
Yeah.
human brain. So anyway, it was really sad. So I guess this is a tangent I didn't expect, but if you're gonna go watch some entertainment having to do with animals, yeah, do your homework.
Yeah,
It's
do your
really easy
research.
to find the info.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
if you're in San Diego and not to just pick on SeaWorld, I'm sure they're not the only one, but if you want to see some killer whales, you can always go out in a boat in the ocean and see them.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's better. I've done that. It's
Yeah.
awesome out there. I mean, you get a cruise and you
You get
see
to go on a
killer
boat.
whales.
Who
Yeah.
doesn't like boats?
So, and you can feel good about it afterwards.
Yep.
So, anyway, enough of that tangent, but that's really cool. I met a lady who helped take care of tigers, but I mean, when you were training them, what are you training them to do? Like,
Well, I shouldn't say I was a tiger trainer. I was doing this apprenticeship, and I was starting to learn to care for them. And so
okay,
we also did like a wild animals encounter show, and so I basically hosted the show for a while because I got down there and everyone was an animal person and didn't necessarily like to be in front of the public, and I had done a lot of acting and singing and been on stage, so I went down there and ended up hosting this exotic animal show for a
cool.
while down
So is
there.
this like schools and kids and stuff coming
Yeah,
in? And,
yeah, I was at a theme park called Jungle Island, and
Okay.
yeah, a lot of school trips, a lot of families. So
Nice.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was
That
interesting.
seems like a great
Yeah.
job.
And
Yeah.
then I got out of that, and after living that super restrictive lifestyle, it's what kind of went crazy and just started traveling the world, and yeah, it's been traveling for about 3 or 4 years now. Lived in Australia for a while, and now I'm living in Thailand.
Wow. And you were working in Australia in an
Yeah.
actual like office environment?
For a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Unlike a lot of countries, Americans only get a 1 year working holiday visa in Australia. So I did some website design and did a lot of website design, graphic design, and content creation, which is what I'm doing now. And then my visa ended, and I got sponsored by a company selling training.
Did you need a job lined up before you got that visa?
Yes. So you get hired, and then the person that has hired you is your sponsor. So
Okay.
they're basically vouching for you, and
Yeah.
they pay for the visa.
You won't be a deadbeat when you're there because they're employing you,
Exactly.
basically, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
It's funny because almost everybody I've talked to who's done any kind of working visa in Australia, they pick fruit and they work their
Yeah.
tails off in
Yep.
and they live in like a little commune type of.
Well, that's because actually the rest of the world, because America doesn't offer a real working holiday visa. We're one of the only countries in the world that doesn't, in the Western world that doesn't. And so places like Australia, New Zealand, Europe will give us a working holiday visa, but they only give us 1 year because we don't reciprocate.
Mm,
So the other countries, like I have a lot of Irish friends that went there and a lot of English friends, they get a second year working holiday visa, but only if they do 90 days of regional farm work. So
oh,
that's why they're all fruit picking and working
okay.
on dairy farms and I don't know.
And making $15 an hour doing it,
Exactly. They
which is
make good money. And it's kind of like
the minimum wage is something like $15
yeah, I
there,
think
isn't
it's
it?
like 15 or 16. I
Yeah,
know the waitresses at my local restaurants got paid like $20 an
yeah,
hour.
yeah,
So beats our 8.50 or whatever it is
definitely.
in
So
the
do you think
States.
that we don't offer that working visa because we're the greatest country in the world, or is it some other reason?
I don't
I'm just
know.
kidding.
I have no idea why we don't. I wish we did because now I have a lot of friends that want to come stay with me in the
Yeah,
States and we have to find some sneaky way to get them there or something.
yeah. It's funny, and I listen to so many podcasts and talk to so many people
Yeah.
here in Chiang Mai that they're totally absorbed in this world of travel and digital nomadism or
Yep.
whatever you want to call it. That I realize a lot of the audience out there, their mind might be blown right now that they could go pick fruit in Australia for a year and
For
make $15 an
$15 an
hour.
hour. Yeah.
And I think even I could be making this up, but I think the living expenses are either like zero or really small because you're
I
living
think
there.
so. I did have a friend who was that yeah, they provide food like 3 meals a day and accommodation and then pay you.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, you basically just work all the time for 90 days. And there's a couple places that do cheap hostels or whatever. It's usually
yeah,
shared accommodation. But yeah, I don't know. And,
yeah,
and not all of it is fruit picking stuff. There's actually like dairy farms where you would work inside, or some of it's even like helping regional property. So maybe you're raking some old
yeah.
lady's leaves or something.
So if you're working a maintenance job, just barely getting by in San Francisco right now, trying to
Right,
save up money to visit Australia,
right.
you might as well quit, go to Australia and get a maintenance job or rake leaves
Yep,
and milk
absolutely.
cows.
And if you're under 32, you can get a working holiday visa and work anywhere for 6 months, anywhere. So in Australia.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, I'm 33.
And in New Zealand, it's free for Americans.
Oh
Working
cool.
holiday visa. And
Yeah.
I don't tell the Australians, but I like New Zealand
Okay.
better.
Um, you know, that's that whole visa world. I'll
Yep.
tell you, I was so ignorant. I think a lot of Americans, first of all, I think like 50% of Americans have a passport, I've heard. So
Yeah.
a lot of Americans just don't know a whole lot about travel. And I've had Europeans and people make fun of me for that. And, oh, you only speak one language. Is that kind of embarrassing? And I said,
Yeah.
okay, imagine you could drive from England to like, ah, I don't know how big the U.S. would be on if you overlaid it
I
over,
don't
but it
know.
would be like
At least
past
past,
Turkey, right?
yeah,
You'd probably
that's
be to like Iran or
exactly.
something. I mean, if you could drive that whole distance and everybody spoke the same language, like,
Hmm.
say you're Swedish and you're making fun of me, that's where I was.
Yep.
Would you really speak English and French and Italian
You
and
don't have to use, I'd
yeah,
say now, I mean, Spanish is pretty relevant now, but other than
yeah,
that, it's like, I don't know, you don't ever have to use it. If you're in Europe going to different countries, you're going to show up in a country and they may not speak English, and so you have to learn that. But
right.
not that everyone does, but
Yeah, and we're of course it's just dumb
yep,
luck that our
yep.
country speaks English and it's the second language in a lot of places,
And
which
it's funny
is
you talk
great.
about people back home in America not being well traveled. It's interesting because I've been trying to start writing a book that I feel would be useful information for people who want to
Yeah,
travel long term. And I've realized now, traveling the last 3 or 4 years, what I think is normal is like mind blowing adventure to
yeah,
people back home. And I've things like how to get from the airport to your hotel when you don't speak the language, or trying to sort out your electricity bill
yep.
in a place that doesn't speak English. It's to me that's a normal thing, and you just figure out how to do it. But you forget that people back home, that is they think they couldn't do that,
Well,
but of course
to
they can.
show you where I was just, I don't know, like maybe 7 years ago or something, I think I was about 25 or so, maybe 26, and I went to Sweden. Wait, I'm mixing up my stories. Sweden, I also was ignorant there, but the first time I went to Thailand, it was about 10 years ago, 2004 maybe, and I went online onto, Travelocity or whatever to book my ticket, and I found a good price. And I was in real estate at the time, so I could make my own schedule. But if I'm not working, I'm not earning, right? So it was kind of like, okay, it's a long trip, so I'm not just going to go for a week. But if I go for too long, then my business might get kind of screwed up. So I decided to do a month. So I went from November 30th to December 30th, and just 30 days, just for no good reason. And I remember when I was leaving the airport, the customs guy, the immigration guy, took an extra long look at my stamps, and I'm like, "What is everything okay or what?" You know? And then after that, it got me wondering why he was looking at it. And then I realized somebody told me, or I read in the Lonely Planet, that there's a 30-day visa on arrival. And I didn't even know I had a visa. There was some stamp in my passport, you know, and it was 30 days, and I didn't even look at the date after I got my stamp when I showed up. So I just happened to leave on the last day, you know? And I mean, I remember going to Sweden. I fell asleep. I flew from Seattle to, I think, Newark. And then I fell asleep as we left Newark and woke up almost in Sweden, which blew my mind. It was great. But I knew nothing. I didn't know what their money was called. I didn't know how to get from the airport, like you said, to the hotel. And it's just, I guess if you grow up in places where countries are really small and you cross borders all the time, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But
well, for us, is we've got Canada and Mexico, and they just let you in. I think I've walked across the border to Mexico before, and when you go into Mexico, no one asks to see your passport, no one asks to see your visa. It's only when you're coming back into the States that you have to figure it out. But they're not going to give you they just let you in.
And in Canada used to let us in, they would ask to see your driver's license.
Yeah, I remember that.
And just recently now they do require a passport or a birth certificate, I think, or those enhanced driver's license. But so now I think just for that reason, people in my area are starting to get either the enhanced driver's license or the passports and stuff, just to go to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Because I'm from an hour from Vancouver. But yeah, it really is funny. Once you do it a few times, you just forget that it is mysterious to a lot of people.
Well, it is nice to have a connection somewhere, too. Like when I first, Australia is really the first place I went by myself, long term, without any plans.
Yeah.
And I had a friend over there who helped get me set up with a job and gave me a place to stay while I set myself down and everything. And that's a big help, too.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm starting some personal development focused tours in October, and I think that is something I really want to focus on is people who want to travel to, I guess, exotic places like Thailand, but are afraid to, or just want someone from home to hold their hands and still get that local experience. Because no one really wants to be part of a giant tour group that only does the quote.
Right.
Quotes, the touristy
the things they get paid commission for.
Exactly. They want to go really see what a real travel experience would be about if you were living there as a local. So
yeah. And you're thinking about doing that in like a certain location? Everybody meets up in one city or something?
Yeah, I'm going to start with Northern Thailand because I'm here and I know it well. So we're going to do a tour of Northern Thailand for 10 days and we'll live and eat and explore like the locals, but we'll still do a lot of the fun touristy stuff because that's great. But it's going to be focused on people who want to learn to travel long term and develop a remote income long term. So I'll talk about how to work online and how to outsource and how to work in another country. And
is that ready? I mean, can people book that now?
Absolutely, yeah.
Where do they go?
Yeah, my website's notyourparentslife.com.
Okay.
And we provide basically services and information to people who want to become an entrepreneur or maybe have a craft or an art that they want to learn how to start making money with.
Yeah.
As well as small businesses and nonprofits. Just get yourself out there, get yourself online, and start promoting your business. So the tours are going to be
fun. And your tour sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if people had some time to even if there wasn't a tour like that, if you have time to just hang out in Chiang Mai, there are so many people. The table that you were sitting at when I walked into this place, we're at a place called Coffee Monster. And there are just people sitting around every day that do all different kinds of things. I mean, I've met people who are doctors who do Skype consultations, and that's how they earn their living.
Yep.
A lot of internet marketers, bloggers, photographers. I mean, it's the whole spectrum.
I've learned more just coming in and doing my work at this cafe.
Yeah.
I've learned more than I did in, I'd say, 4 years of college getting a bachelor's degree.
I remember somehow, I think it was on Couchsurfing, I got connected with a girl from Dallas who was going to be coming to Chiang Mai, the general area. She was looking at getting a job, possibly teaching English and stuff.
Yep.
And so she was asking questions. She said, hey, I don't need a place to stay, but is it okay if I just ask you questions once in a while? Because in a few months I might be coming there.
Yep.
And really, she did ask me some questions about how things work. But I kind of fell into this role of like a professional, well, not professional, amateur encourager.
Yep.
Because she'd be like, oh, there's this job that I think they're going to offer me blah blah blah, but and then she
Yep.
would go into the things that her parents said or her friends said or all these other people who have never traveled, what
Exactly.
they
It's like
said.
who do you know
Yeah,
has actually done that?
right.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
told her, in effect, I mean, we went back and forth by email and stuff. I said, the you're looking for encouragement right now, and like I can tell that I'm like maybe myself and another person or two on couch surfing are the only people telling you to do it. And all these people back home who are really influential in her life are telling her don't because
Don't
it's
do it.
scary.
Yeah.
You'll be throwing away this great career path. She had a pretty good job. Um,
I'm a big believer in only taking advice from people who have done what you want to
right,
do. Like I
right.
have a friend. Speaking of travel, bad travel advice. I have a friend who she's from a city that most people in the world would consider a really dangerous city, and she's traveling around Asia, and she went to Cambodia, and she told her mom. So her mom's on Google googling Cambodia danger, and of
Yeah.
course all this
Oh
stuff
yeah.
comes
What?
up, and she's like, "Don't go there, you're gonna
Well, yeah.
die."
Look at
It's
that
like
Google search. Come on.
exactly, yeah, and
What city? Where's she from?
which city?
What city is she from?
She's from New Orleans.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No
yeah,
kidding. Like crime rates there compared to a lot of places that scare
exactly.
a lot of countries that scare
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Yeah. That is really
Where Southeast
funny.
Asia, I mean, I feel safer here than I do in Chicago a lot of times. I
Right.
mean, I would say most of the world is safer than at home a lot of times.
Yeah.
You just know where to go and where not to go because you're
Mm-hmm.
familiar with the place.
Yeah. And there's a lot of fear mongering that contributes to that, of
Hmm.
course. If you watch the news too
Yep.
much, everything's scary.
Oh, the best example is right now in Thailand, they're having a coup d'etat, and
Yeah.
I'm not affected at all. And everyone, you get all the messages and the emails. Are you okay? Do you need to be evacuated? Did you go to the embassy?
Yeah,
And
people when they hear
yeah,
coup, they think about like a lot of gunshots and
yep,
stuff. But I mean, I'd have to look it up. But I think the definition of a coup, it's like it's a change in power.
yep,
That's true.
yep,
But I mean, there was very little force, if any,
right.
used in this coup. I mean, there was
Well, it's the
who was going
culture
to fight
here.
them?
The Thai
And
people are so
yeah,
peaceful. If we had a coup back home, there'd be bloodshed and riots
yeah.
everywhere. And it's just people only relate to what they know, and they know if there was a coup in the States, it'd be destruction and
Hmm.
chaos. But I don't know. It was very
And
peaceful
all the
treatment.
news channels back home trying to
Oh,
sell advertising are
yep,
going to play it up as much as they
yep,
can. But, back to what you said, you know, would you take diet advice from somebody who's 400 pounds?
exactly.
Would you take marriage advice from somebody who's been divorced 3 times?
Yep,
I mean, a
yep,
little common sense goes a long way, right?
yep,
If you want to do what Rachel's doing,
yep,
ask Rachel, read her blog, send her an email, whatever,
exactly.
go on
But
the
don't ask
tour.
me about brain surgery.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that is really prominent in the digital nomad community a lot because everyone, it's very easy to live and work in Thailand or places like Thailand where it's very cheap. So you really don't need to make any money to be able to live here for a long time. So a lot of people are out there saying, I'm going to teach you how to make money. I'm going to teach you how to make money. And they're not really making money. So I think part of the adventure of being a digital nomad is seeking out people who are actually doing something successful and learning from them versus just hearing what everyone's doing and maybe no one's actually doing
Yeah.
anything.
And people like to talk about themselves too.
Yes.
If you ask them,
Yep.
even pretty successful people, if they're not
Yep.
obviously right in the middle of an urgent task,
Exactly.
if they're sitting around working like everybody else, and you can start
Right.
shooting the breeze with these people, build a little rapport and trust, and
Yep.
you get gems. You really do.
I've got a question for you now
Yeah.
to turn the tables a little bit. So, obviously, there's a lot of fantastic people to learn from here in Chiang Mai. If I'd say suggest anyone that wants to learn how to work and travel or work online, Chiang Mai is a really good place
Yeah.
to go. So, like you said, a lot of the successful people, they're going to be there. They're going to be working and they're going to be working hard on their stuff, and their time is very valuable to them,
Hmm.
which is why they create these businesses that they can run remotely.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is the best way to give an even trade for advice from someone that you want
Yeah.
to learn from? So, because I mean, know if I was really busy and I was working really hard, if someone just came up and asked me a bunch of questions, it'd be annoying. So,
Yeah. That's a great question.
how can you
I
show your appreciation, I guess?
I guess a little bit like if you're trying to keep it even, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give as much as you get. Try not to take when it's obviously a pain in the neck, right? Like there
Yep.
are having a little bit of social tact.
Yep.
If people are hanging out and they don't look too busy right at the moment, or you happen to look over their shoulder and they're on Facebook,
Right.
that might be a good time to talk.
Yep.
But if they're in the middle of a Skype call or they've got a big pile of papers and they're looking stressed, so anyway,
Yeah.
little common sense that way. That's a good question. How do you give back? I mean, one way sometimes is meals. You
Yeah.
know,
Can I buy
mean,
you lunch?
yeah,
Everyone's got to eat.
yeah, exactly. I mean, at this place, they could eat at the table because Coffee Monster has a
Yeah,
kitchen.
yeah.
But man, that is a good question.
Because I think a lot of times, if you're learning and you want to know what they know, if there's this feeling, it's like, oh, what do I have to offer?
Yeah.
But obviously, you're good at a lot of things. Like, I really want to learn about drop shipping, and
Mhm.
I'm pretty good at web design and graphic design. So maybe I could say, hey, can I help you out with a logo in exchange for an hour of your time or something
Yeah.
like that.
Well,
So,
and a lot of people in this kind of racket,
yep.
they've got something you can sell for them or blog
Yeah.
about for them.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe I can write you a review on my
absolutely.
blog. Yeah.
Like, if,
Yeah.
I don't, was drop shipping just a random example, or is that some, because,
That is something that I really want to learn.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a guy that made a course that a lot of people here use, and
Yep.
his name's Anton. He's actually in town right now.
Yep.
And if you look into his course, like it, or whatever, he's got an affiliate program, so you could sell the course for him. So you're
Absolutely.
helping him out.
Yeah.
So he's got incentive to want to make sure you're happy and everything.
Right.
And there's a really active forum, and he'll actually get back to you and answer questions. He does offer a lot of that support.
And it's funny, it's funny you say that, because in the last 2 or 3 days, I've heard a lot of people mention this, because a lot of people are interested in drop shipping.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people mention his name a lot. Oh, Anton's in town, Anton's doing this. And it's funny, it's like everyone wants to learn about everything in this community, in this digital nomad community, because we make our living by learning to do what other people are not doing, and being able to do what the mainstream crowd is not doing. That's how we're able to do what we do.
Right.
And so I think everyone's like really hungry for knowledge, no matter what your expertise is, which I think is why everyone's so willing to share what they know. It's because they hope that you know something that they can use.
Yeah, and actually, back to your question about how can you make it an even trade, I asked a guy here, you probably know Mark. He really helped me out a lot with Facebook advertising and some really specific details, and Teespring, and all kinds of stuff. And he was really giving me a lot. And so I just flat out asked him, like, hey, let me know if there's anything I can do to make this like worthwhile for you. I don't want to just take.
Right.
And he's like, you know what? I got all this information from other people here. I'm just passing it on. He's like, just help somebody else out. Maybe you can help me out. But he basically, his answer was, right now I can't really think of anything. Just help somebody else.
Well, and I think also it's everyone here, I would say, if you've gotten this far, if you've traveled the world by yourself and have set up shop in a foreign country where you don't speak the language, you're probably a pretty capable person, and you've got a level of confidence and skill and reliability that a lot of people don't have who don't do that. And so I think everyone here hopes that everyone else will become successful, so they can all go into business together and make each other money. So I think it's kind of like you want this power group to be everyone to be successful, so you can glean information and help each other out.
And there really is a sense of satisfaction too, knowing that you helped somebody who's going to actually use it.
Yeah. And how great is that for your business to say have someone that you've helped make a video or write a testimonial saying this guy changed my life?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Yeah.
There's a guy that is a real estate trainer, that he's a real estate investor in Seattle, and he teaches a lot of people, and they pay him for that. But he has a saying I really like, that is, you can't steer a parked car.
Yep.
And he basically says, if you're a parked car, please don't buy my course.
Yep. If
you're not willing to take a lot of action and make mistakes and get in movement, then I don't want to teach you, because it's just a waste of his breath.
Right.
But if, like, I was a football coach,
Yep.
Middle school, and it's frustrating if you're trying to teach somebody that just doesn't care.
Yep.
And that doesn't happen as much in football as I feel bad for like math teachers and stuff, because the kids, at least, they choose to be on the football field. But if you're coaching or teaching somebody who's using it, that's fun to watch. So that could be a way to give back, is just to show them that you were listening and you actually applied it, so that if you come back to them and you're like, hey, those 2 things you told me, I did them both. It kind of worked. It's starting to work better, and I have a couple questions about that.
And that's appreciation in itself, because we've all known those people that I don't know if you ever heard the term Askhole, where they're Askholes, because they ask you lots and lots of questions and then don't do anything that you say.
Great.
And then they come back and ask you more questions.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to give you advice because you just ignored everything that I said.
Right.
So you don't be an asshole. If you actually go and implement what the advice that they gave you, then that's appreciation in yourself. It's like, I really appreciate what you've given me, the knowledge you've given me. I'm going to take that and make something happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's
because a lot of people are at least a little bit altruistic. Like, if they're helping you and all they have to do is spend 5 minutes talking to you,
absolutely,
that's worth it for most people right there.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one way.
Yeah.
That's a good question, though. That really made me think. You kind of had me stumped there. Let me get back to my fancy Google Doc, see if I'm forgetting anything awesome. One thing is, I'm glad I remembered this. You went to Columbia.
Yeah.
Before that, you went to, how do you say it? DuPage. Okay. You think French people would agree with that?
Probably not.
All right.
Maybe from Chicago.
So, but anyway, what I'm getting at, you went to a very well-known, it's an Ivy League school, right, Columbia?
I went to Columbia College in Chicago. which is a
Not
phenomenal private school,
Gotcha.
but it is not Columbia, New
Okay.
York.
I think I just assumed that because I had
Yeah.
a cousin that went
Yeah.
there. So, but regardless, you went to two
Yes.
colleges. So you were in the mainstream of education.
Yep. Did the community college and then transferred to finish my bachelor's degree.
Right.
Yeah.
So you went through all that.
Yep.
Like I only made it through a year of college. And you went from somebody who went through the mainstream education and finished
And
to
then got a job in an office.
right.
Hated it.
And now you pulled a 180.
Right.
So how was that? There must have been a transition point.
Yeah. So I don't know. Ask me a question.
So I guess
It's
what
a
I'm
big story.
okay. What it made me think of was when I dropped out of college.
Yep.
Every time I talked to my grandpa on the phone for a couple years, probably.
When you go back to school.
Exactly. Every conversation he'd ask me that, even if we
Yeah.
only talked for a couple minutes, and my answer was always probably never.
Yeah.
Like I probably because I don't know. I
Yeah.
still could go back to school someday, right? But I said I don't have any plans to go back, Grandpa. You know, just like I told him 2 weeks before, right?
Right.
But did you have people that were like, "Oh, you're making a mistake. You need to go back to that well-worn path"?
A lot of people said, oh, well, when are you gonna start your career? Because I was traveling around and doing things like exotic animal training and starting businesses. I've always started businesses, and I have an interesting situation. I've been spoiled my whole life because both of my parents are entrepreneurs. And so I've grown up in an entrepreneurial household, and I've known multi-million, multi-billion dollar people that have been mentors to both my parents and good friends of the family. And I've seen these people living this lifestyle that had nothing to do with working for someone else. And so I knew it was possible from a young age. I just didn't know how to get there.
Okay.
So I was kind of like running blindly, trying all these different things, but knowing that something would work because I know
Okay.
people that are doing it. So a lot of those people saying when are you going to start your career, or when are you going to settle down, or how long are you going to fool around? All those same people were saying, I hate my job. Man,
Mhm.
I wish I could get more sleep. Oh, I feel so tired all the time. And I felt great, and I was really enjoying
Yeah.
life. And so it's like,
So
again, it's,
those people asking you those questions,
Yep.
they weren't your parents and your parents' friends. These are other people with the traditional jobs.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a lot of my friends and a lot of people, family members as well. I mean, not everyone that I know is an entrepreneur, and there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people who are very, very happy working in a
Mhm.
traditional job, and they work for a great company, and they have benefits, and they're secure. But I'm a terrible employee because every time I go to work for someone else, I'm always thinking about building my own thing
Mhm.
that's gonna build my dream and uh, design my perfect lifestyle. So I could never give 100% working for anyone else.
Right.
Ever. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, when you said your dream,
Yep.
that's really what it boils down to is when we all are given our own life for a reason, right? Like
Exactly.
if you were supposed to live my life, you would be me.
Right. So why would I work for you building your life when I
Right.
could work for me building my life
Yeah.
and work with you to create something bigger? So
Yeah, I'm a big believer in letting, if people have dreams, I don't know, it's maybe a metaphysical thing or
Yeah.
something, but they're there for a reason. They have
Yeah.
that dream. And even if it doesn't pan out the way they thought,
right.
I think it would be much worse to never pursue it and 30 years later wonder
Absolutely.
what if,
Yeah.
I don't like what ifs. I don't,
I saw, I didn't actually watch it, but I saw, scrolling through Facebook, Jim Carrey just recently spoke to I think it was a group of students maybe, talking about chasing your dreams.
yeah.
And it was really powerful, apparently. So maybe you can post it after
If
this
it's the one
podcast or
I'm
something.
thinking of, Maharaji University, I think
Okay.
maybe, and he mentioned his dad,
Mhm.
and he thought his
Yeah.
dad could have been a very good comedian.
Yep.
But I believe he was saying his dad didn't think that, or
Right.
or either that, or he was scared to take the leap, or something.
Right. Or he just thought it was silly or it would never
Yeah,
happen. Yeah.
and I think Jim Carrey said that was, what you'll hear people talk about a negative role model.
Right.
That was a negative role model for me.
And his dad wasn't doing anything bad.
Yeah,
He was doing the best he could, providing for his son, but
Yeah.
he wasn't encouraging to chase his dream, and that was
Right.
Jim Carrey's advice was, don't wait, please don't wait.
yeah. Those stories of parents not making it or not pursuing their dreams, I think can be really powerful. I've heard a lot of stories
Yeah.
like that. I don't know if you've ever watched the show This Week in Startups. It's Jason Calacanis, internet guy. Um, he became very successful. His dad had a bar, and so he grew up hanging out a lot there,
Right.
Cleaning, sweeping, whatever. But I don't know, I don't remember the details, but the bar, it didn't make it. It got shut down. It was humiliating for his dad and all that. And that was like fuel for him to
Yeah.
really excel.
Absolutely.
You know, it was he saw that pain, and maybe Jim Carrey seeing his dad never fulfilling his dream, you know, never.
I'm not going to be like. I mean, every
Yeah,
kid says I'm not going to be like my parents, but
right.
sometimes it's that I see what this life is like, and I want to create something different, which is
I
awesome.
think that's a really important thing. You know, you can have role models that are what you want to be,
Yep.
and then what you don't want to be. And the other thing on role models, I've posted a lot of stuff on the Facebook page on positive thinking, and a really good example is there's a really powerful speech that Arnold Schwarzenegger gave, and it's the basic theme is he's talking about he's got his life lessons or his rules for success. And one of the first ones is be willing to break the rules. You know, he says not the laws,
Absolutely.
but the rules.
Yep.
And you know, people pick him apart. Every time I post anything by Schwarzenegger, people are, oh yeah, but he used steroids, and then there was, I guess, some scandal with his housekeeper. I don't know.
Yeah.
He knocked up his housekeeper. I guess I didn't read that, but somebody commented that.
Yep.
You know, and so what they were saying, what they were like implying, is that you shouldn't listen to anything that guy has to say.
Yeah, but that's so counterintuitive.
I
Because
know.
the reason that he's so successful is because he has learned from his mistakes better than people who aren't doing what he's doing. So it's that he's made a lot of mistakes and he's learned from those mistakes so well that it has skyrocketed him to success. So it's like the more mistakes you make, the more opportunities there is to learn. So
Yeah, and even if you don't, I mean, if you don't think he's a good role model as a husband,
right,
that doesn't mean he's a bad role model as far as work ethic
right, yeah, absolutely.
or,
Yeah.
you know, showmanship or
Yeah.
whatever you're into. I mean,
Or just thinking differently.
yeah,
I mean, here's this guy who barely spoke our language, who became a TV star,
I know.
a movie star, and it's like someone would look at him and laugh and say, "You could never ever do that." And
yeah,
it's incredible. It's an incredible story. He's got a great story.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think you have to watch out for the trap of, I'm not going to listen to anything that person has to say because they
Right.
made a mistake or two.
Right.
Find a role model that hasn't made a mistake
Yeah.
or two. I dare you.
Exactly. And then you know what? It's like you learn from them, you listen to them, and then they've already made the mistakes for you, and you've seen
Yeah.
the consequences.
Right.
And so maybe you can just do it better.
Yep.
But there's no reason to.
Tiger Woods is another one.
Yep.
All of a sudden, we can't learn anything from Tiger Woods because his wife got mad at him and wrecked a car. You know, come on.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's probably somebody out there mad at me for bringing those two guys up. You know, but
It's okay. You can learn from your mistakes, Dan.
yeah, definitely. Let's see. What else do I not want to miss? Because I know we have a certain amount of time that we've got here. Oh yeah, the reason, one of the main reasons, I know about 10 times as much about you now as I did before we started this podcast. So the reason, it's really simple, but I wanted to have you on this podcast because you smile a lot.
Awesome.
And it's not the fake smile. You know how you can see the fake smile?
Yeah.
The eyes don't squint.
Yeah.
There's no wrinkles in the corners of the
Yep.
eyes. And I just was wondering, okay, what's the secret? Because I thought from just what I've observed
Yep.
of you, you really are happy. And so we've talked quite a bit about how you've gotten there
Yep.
and things you haven't done. But I wanted to know, have you been this happy at most points in your life? Or is this a recent thing now that you're traveling the world and you're doing your own thing?
I guess there's two parts to that answer then. First of all, I have a fantastic family and a fantastic group of friends and a great home life back in the States. I love living in America and it's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But now I've hit this point in my life where my entire life I've wanted to learn to work remotely and live where I want to live and work when I want to work. Like if I decide to take a week off, I can do that and I can pick up the next week. And living in Chiang Mai is so easy. I never have to worry about if I'm going to be able to pay my bills. The weather is beautiful all the time. The food is delicious. The people are awesome. I have a great community of friends here. So I think right now in Chiang Mai is one of the happiest I've been in my entire life, to the point where I am worried about going home to my awesome life in America because I'm so happy here and thinking how I can keep that going.
Right.
And so I have reason to be happy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But also, my whole life, people have always said, I want to say this without sounding like cheesy or new agey, but it's about positive affirmation, about things will come to you if you act as if you are that person.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone my whole life has said, oh, you're so lucky, or everything comes so easy to you, or why are you so good at this. And it's not that I am lucky or that everything comes easy to me. It's that if you have a good attitude about something, it is just, everything's going to go so much smoother. Because even if something goes wrong, you're going to be in the mindset to be able to fix it.
Right.
Because a bad attitude is like, it is the worst thing for trying to solve problems. Because everything just seems like a failure. And
yeah, if you're looking for the wall that's going to stop you, that little speed bump or pothole is going to look like the wall that you can't get over, right?
Absolutely.
But if if you're realistic, okay, this is a pothole, but you know where you're going.
Yeah.
It's just a minor obstacle.
Absolutely. And it's such a silly thing, and it sounds so stupid. Like, you gotta have a good attitude. Like, it sounds so silly. And if you say that to someone, they're gonna be like, that's ridiculous. Tell me this. What are you really doing? But seriously, I would say that 90% of my success in life, I don't know what you define as success, but achieving my goals is about having a positive attitude and using that to keep your mind open to opportunities.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people who are just, they think they have a positive attitude, but they hate the people around them, and they always think, woe is me, or why does this happen to me, or I think let me think what I'm trying to say. I think one of the easiest ways to put it is that there's a marketer and a businessman named Jim Rohn. He passed away about a year ago. Yeah, I love Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
He said he was talking to his mentor, and his mentor was talking to him about what things cost.
Earl Shope.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And Jim Rohn said, this is too expensive. And his mentor said, it's not too expensive. You just can't afford it.
Yep.
And it's all about that. It's like, if something bad happens to you, bad stuff happens to everything.
Yeah.
It's not about something bad happened to you. It's the result of a choice that you made to put you in that situation.
Yeah.
And so if you just think about it like that, and you think about, okay, this has happened, kind of sucks, but let's put a positive spin on it so that I can be in the mindset to fix it and make sure it doesn't happen next time. Yeah.
And you know what's helped me a lot too with that is, things happen that we wouldn't choose them to happen. But 5 years down the road, that you might realize that was a character building experience.
Absolutely.
Or maybe it ended that one route for you, and you turned and went in a different direction that you ended up liking more, or something like that. But so you have to be a little bit careful on judging situations. But I really like biographies, and if you read a fair amount of biographies, certain people had more difficulty than others, but even the heroes that you thought just had this flawless, they rode an escalator to success, right? It wasn't easy, and they screwed up, and they got sued, and they got divorced, and somebody important to them died at a really important part in their business, or you hear all these kind of stories.
And of course they felt terrible, and they felt like they couldn't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
everyone
who's
down.
a perfect example lately? Steve Jobs.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I swear people are building statues to him outside, on Wall Street or something. He's this perfect person, and this tends to happen once people are gone a while too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
they can't make any more mistakes.
Yeah, and when he was still alive, I was listening to something or reading something about him, and there were points in his life where he was very depressed.
Yeah.
And I don't, maybe even suicidal. I mean, he had some very, very low lows.
Absolutely.
And I think people tend to forget that. And another good example is Babe Ruth.
Yep.
He's, they had film when he was around, barely. There was no sound, and everybody looked like they were running really fast. But people just think of him as this 7-foot tall guy with arms as big as most people's legs that just hit home run after home run. His strikeout record stood for, I think it was either 29 or 30 years. And you know who broke it? I don't know. Do you know a little bit about baseball?
No.
You're from New York. You'll know these two names.
Chicago's got two baseball teams.
Right.
So.
And you know who Babe Ruth is, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the guy that broke his strikeout record was Mickey Mantle.
Okay.
Those guys are both among the greatest of all time. Okay, so of course when you're watching the biography and they need to show a little quick clip, they're not going to show him striking out or hurting his ankle.
Show him hitting a home run.
Yeah. And Mickey Mantle, a lot of times he could barely run. He was so beat up. But
well, I think that's what it is. It's not how many times you fail. I don't want to say that it's not how many times you fail. It's how many times you get up. But that's really what it is.
Yeah.
You fail so much that you can't possibly fail anymore, and then you get it right.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have a huge failure story that I just told for the first time publicly. A few of my friends knew about it, but
cool, let's hear it.
Where did I even tell that? Was I on somebody's podcast? I think I was. I can't believe I can't remember that. But I finally just said it publicly. It was a real estate project that went horribly wrong and lost tons of money of mine and my mom's retirement money, and that was the worst part, was screwing up, affecting somebody else with my failure.
Your mom of all people.
Yeah, and that was really emotionally hard. But you know what? The game's not over, and I'm still young, and my mom worked for that money. I mean, I don't know if my voice just quivered even thinking about it, but I lost a bunch of my mom's retirement money.
Yeah.
My mom worked her ass off for decades to make that money. How do you think I feel about that?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I can try to make it up to her. Like, I'm not going to quit. You know,
Absolutely.
I got back up.
Yep.
And that hurt. And like my appendix blew up. I had a bad relationship that probably half of it was because of that.
It's
I mean,
amazing what negativity can do to your body. It's incredible what you can do to your body just by being in a funk.
Yeah, I mean, I
being
had
down.
trouble sleeping. I could be in bed for 9 hours and maybe technically asleep, but when I woke up, I had bags under my eyes. I
Yep.
looked like I hadn't slept more than an hour.
Yep.
Like, what is going on? I just couldn't sleep soundly. So, you know, that was about a year after everybody thought I was Wonder Boy, and I like spoke down at the University of Washington in front of like 400 real estate investors that the average age is probably 50, you know, and they're all listening to me, and I was like 25, 24,
Yep.
you know, and a year later it was like, oh, time for a little humility check.
Yep.
You know, you're going to have a massive failure that's embarrassing, costly, stressful, it affects your health.
Break you down.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, but what that taught me is that I don't know what the rules on this is my first podcast, but I'm a tough son of a bitch. You know, so if I personally I don't like iTunes, by the way. So if I can't put this on iTunes, I don't really care. Go listen to this on Stitcher. But and give it a review on iTunes. Right? I guess that's important. Whatever. But it showed me I'm tough. And so now it's harder to scare me. You know, and that doesn't mean I'm like making bad decisions and doing stupid things without like looking at the, you know, potential for success or whatever. It just means that if I'm taking a risk that and I'm not sure of success, if it fails, I can probably handle it.
Well, and that's the thing, you never know what you're capable of until you reach that point where you think you can't do it, and then you do it anyway. And I mean, I think you have to tank to be able to better yourself. I mean, I think Donald Trump's been broke like 3 or 4 times in his life, and his financial thermometer is set so high that he's not comfortable making $100,000 a year even. So even if he goes broke, he's not going to stop until he gets back up to millions, billions, whatever he's worth these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and we're both from the US. I mean, if you are a decent person, and if you treat people even okay, if you really do have a tough luck spell, somebody's probably going to let you sleep on their couch or pitch a tent in their backyard or something. Like, you're not going to be sleeping under a bridge just because you went bankrupt.
Or go to, there's couchsurfing.org.
Yes.
Check out couchsurfing.
I mean, they're literally,
That's the thing. It's like, what is the absolute worst case scenario that could happen?
Yeah.
Like, if it's not that you die or someone else is going to die, then it's probably fixable. Yeah. Everything's probably fixable.
That's important. Assessing the worst case, because if you don't, there's this like fear of the unknown. Like, it's not quantified. Oh my God, something bad could happen, but it's like this boogeyman. I don't know how to define it.
Well, and I think it was either Jim Rohn or Dale Carnegie said fear of loss is the number one motivator. So like, to motivate, it's not that you're going to get something cool, it's that you're going to lose something that you already have. Yeah. And that's what people are afraid of. They're afraid of losing everything. But lose everything. That's what travelers do. They lose everything and then they go find something new. Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know you were a junkie with Jim Rohn and Dale Carnegie and all that. Do you like Jack Canfield? He's a favorite of mine. Yeah. Awesome
I don't know
stuff.
him as well, but
he's one of the 2 guys behind the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Okay. But he wrote the Success Principles, which I have a feeling you'd love if you haven't checked it out yet.
I haven't read it yet.
It's almost like a textbook of the type of stuff that Dale Carnegie and Earl Nightingale and Jim Rohn and all these guys talk about. But he made it very like sequential. You know, chapter 1, take responsibility for your life. Chapter 2, sometimes here we're going to talk about affirmations.
I mean, a lot of this personal development, people say, "Oh, I don't like self-help books." That's not really what it is. It's about learning how people who are successful think and what they think, so that you can start doing that because you want to do what they do. And sometimes it's so fluffy. Like I always used to get mad. It's like I don't want to hear about how to motivate myself for 50 pages. I want to know what you're freaking doing to make money and to be successful. So it's kind of refreshing when someone's like, number 1, do this. Number 2, do this. And I think whether you love him or hate him, Timothy Ferriss, who wrote the
I listened to his podcast today.
Yeah, he's fantastic at that. It's saying, this is step 1, this is step 2. There's no fluff here. And I do appreciate that.
And you know what I heard about, because a lot of people that talk, you know, there's a lot of haters and trolls out there. The thing that a lot of people, just like Schwarzenegger, people talk about Tim Ferriss. Oh, he works more than 4 hours.
Exactly. It's like, that's
so
not
what?
The point.
Yeah, that's just the title. And I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I heard somewhere that he's just split tested titles and that one sold better.
Yep.
So, you know, it's
and
like.
Guess what? It's been phenomenally successful. So whether you think he works 4 hours or not, you still bought his book. So.
Yeah. And just if you don't agree with the title, doesn't mean nothing in the book is valid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think he was one of the first ones to put something out that changed the game, that made, because a lot of people were already doing that. They were already creating these businesses that were automated and run by themselves. I mean, that's how you create this remote residual income. But he put it out in a way that would change the mind of someone who is a die-hard mainstream corporate employee.
Right.
And that's what was the difference, is he made people think differently so that they could break out of that
you're right.
system.
It wasn't just believe it can
Right.
happen and
Yeah.
say a bunch of affirmations.
Yep.
It was like, I kind of remembered, it's been a while, but you
Yeah.
know, I sold this striped shirt that was popular in France or something. It was like a navy shirt or something.
Right.
You know, I remember his story. And he's like, and you know what's cool is you can start selling it. I think some places this isn't legal, but he's like, you can start selling it before you even have the shirt.
Yeah.
You know, and if it sells well, then you order the shirt and you tell people, allow 6 weeks for delivery. So that gives
Yeah.
you 3 weeks to get it and a couple weeks to get it to them, you know?
And I think he brought some of those trade secrets that the digital nomad community's been using forever, like
Mhm.
manufacturing things on Alibaba or hiring someone on Odesk or something like
Yeah.
that. I think he brought that to the mainstream, and people thought like, oh wow, there's actually people already doing this. There's tools that you can do it with. I don't have to do it all myself. And that was a big thing too. People are afraid to start because they don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And he kind of just said, start here. And
Mhm.
so that was a game changer, I think.
Yeah.
Not because of what he's saying in his book, but about how he said it.
Hmm. Yeah, that was a game changer for
Mhm.
sure. I mean,
No one said it like that before.
yeah. And you know, I agree with what you're saying. I think we can have this in common, that you believe in a lot of the things that are taught and sound kind of like fluffy,
Yeah.
but you realize there's substance behind it that,
Yeah.
like The Secret, overall, like there was a lot of good, have you seen it, the
I've
movie?
actually never read or
Oh,
seen that
okay.
movie. I know all about it, and but I
Yeah.
just actually never read it. It's
There's
too fluffy.
there's a lot of good content in it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, a lot of what's in it is true and can work, but it's kind of step one and it leaves out the couple steps that follow it.
Yeah.
Basically, what it talks a lot about manifesting,
Yeah.
which I try to avoid
Which
that
we've talked
word,
about, positive
actually.
affirmation,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like there's certain words, once they get used in certain ways, you have to
Mhm.
try to kind of, I mean, I try to not use them as much. Like God. There's so many ideas on that word that you don't really know what people are thinking when you say
Right.
it. So, you know, instead of talking about manifesting, I'll be like, oh, how do you want to like create the lifestyle you want? Not
Yeah.
how are you going to
you gonna
manifest
design
your
your
dream
lifestyle? Yeah.
life, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, in The Secret,
Envision.
they talk a lot about believing and really clearly seeing what you want
Right.
and believing that you can have it.
Which is very true.
I agree.
But then you have to go get it.
Right. It doesn't go poof.
Yeah.
And like, you know,
Yeah.
I think it's actually Jack Canfield. He cracks me up. He's like, yeah, it was Jack Canfield. He goes, and you know, just because you think about a shiny new Cadillac doesn't mean it's going to
Yeah.
suddenly appear in your living room unless you live at the bottom of a hill.
Exactly.
You know, like, so, okay, you believe that, I mean, there's a bunch of important things. Like, you need to believe you're good enough to have that, you know, get all that kind of, if you have any emotional baggage, you
Yeah.
need to believe that you deserve it. And now, if you believe, you know, I saw another guy who got what I want, whether it's the lifestyle of travel
Right.
or a car or whatever.
So what did he do? And
Yeah.
do I like how he did it?
Right.
And if
Reverse
I don't,
engineering.
who else has done it?
Yeah. Find somebody who got it in a way that you're okay with. And now you can learn a lot from that person, role model them, but now go act.
Right.
Go take action, move your feet.
Well, and it's really cyclical, because when we're talking about failing and being in a funk and being in a hole, the best way to get out of a hole is to take action. Even if you don't know where you're going, just start acting, just start doing something.
Mhm.
And it's that snowball effect. It's momentum. It's like you just start doing
Yeah.
things, even if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to figure out what you need to do next, what you need to
Right.
do next, and you're going to get out of that funk.
And you won't be an asshole.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
People will want to help you. I mean, if I see somebody who's really working their butt off,
Right.
but I think I can give them a tip that's really gonna help, I'm gonna like,
You're gonna
I might
offer it.
even
Yeah.
volunteer it.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
hey, you just need to do this. Look,
You-
you're working
yeah.
hard. You don't know this part of the
Because
combination.
you appreciate their movement.
Yeah.
People appreciate. Well, sometimes there's another. I forget who said also the phrase "dogs don't bark at parked cars." We talked about this before.
Yes.
And that's so
right.
true.
So the
It's like,
critics.
yeah, sometimes the critics and the haters are going to be there too.
Yeah.
Along with the people that are hating on you, there's going to be those people that really see what you're doing and they know what they're doing, and maybe they've already done it, and those are going to be the people that are going to help you. So
Right.
not everyone out there is going to be a douchebag and try and bring you down.
Right.
Even though there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Because they're scared. They're afraid you're going to do something, then you're going to get something and they're going to lose their view of how
Yeah.
things should be,
Right.
and-
You're
yeah.
proving their worldview wrong because
Yeah.
otherwise maybe they would be doing
Right.
it. And not that
Yeah,
everybody.
because no one wants to go to work from 9 to 5 and watch somebody else build their
Not at a
business.
job they hate anyway.
Not at a job they hate. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
And they want to go run around Thailand or wherever
Yeah.
too. And so if you do that and all they can say is when are you going to settle down and get a real job?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's still going to be the people out there that are going to.
When are you going to travel and get a real life?
Yeah, exactly.
That's your
When are you
retort.
going to take that trip you've been talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I wanted to ask you. When I'm okay. You're usually pretty happy. I can just from being around.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious to me. Once in a while, I'm guessing you get pissed off or irritated or
You know
something.
We're talking about this now. I'm in the middle of a massive project.
Okay.
And it's been. I like to work in sprints, not always intentionally.
Sure.
But basically, I'll work really, really, really hard for an extended period of time, and then I'll just like take off and just not do anything.
Yeah.
I like to do that, and my lifestyle gives me the freedom to do that, which I have designed and developed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was talking to this out here today at Coffee Monster, which is a very social place.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been kind of hiding from Coffee Monster for the past week or so because I'm so busy and my workload is so intense that I can't be talking to people or I'm just going to be a raging bitch.
Right.
Like some guy was sitting, this poor guy, I'm sorry, Derek, was sitting next to me and he was like just sitting next to me and I felt like he was too close and I was like, can you move? Can you move over? And I was just like being such a bitch about it because I was like so stressed about this workload and these deadlines. And everyone gets like that. I mean, you're not going to be the picture perfect, positive, poly, whatever. I mean, you're going to have those moments. And the thing is, it's like you have to recognize when you're doing it, and then you have to recognize what's going to get you out of it. And
that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. Yeah. So it's action.
It's action. Take action. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're stressed about your deadline, your workload, maybe you should go start working. And so it's just, I don't know. Another thing for me is like I take on a lot at one time, and sometimes it really stresses me out, and I'll like have like panic modes or something. The number one success and productivity thing that I've learned, and I've learned it from so many different people, is to make a list of the top things that you need to accomplish before you go to bed. Because there's no way I'm going to sleep if I don't write it down. Because I'm going to be thinking about it all night long. It's like, oh, I got to remember to do this tomorrow. I got to remember to do this. So, and don't make like a massive list, or you can if you just want to brain dump and figure it out in the morning. But I would say list the top 5 things that need to get done the next day. And then the next day, don't open your email. Don't go on Facebook until you've accomplished those 5 things. And then you're free. And then your mind is free. And you're free to go make another list because you've got so much to do, or you're free to go play, but you've removed that stress from your life.
Have you ever heard of Swallow That Frog? I haven't
read
Brian
that one either,
Tracy.
but I do know
it's the
that,
title of the book, I think.
Yeah.
I think I leafed through it, didn't read the whole thing, but that's basically the idea. You're not looking forward to swallowing the frog, so just get it over with.
Exactly.
And I've actually just been listening to Tony Robbins' course, which it's kind of old because he's talking about like Greg Norman, the golfer, and I'm guessing it's from maybe the late 90s or something, early 2000s. And so he's talking about a technique for what you're talking about, which is getting out of your head, because that causes a lot of stress. If you know there's things in there that are important and you might forget one, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. You're not only stressed about doing it, you're stressed about remembering
them. And he's got a great system you might really like, actually, because you deal with a lot at once.
Yep.
So he calls it OPA, which is outcome, purpose, action.
Okay.
So usually what people do is they have a to-do list, and that's a bunch of action items.
Yep.
And I'm just learning this, so I can't really say I've implemented it yet, but I like the concept. Especially if you're feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So what you do is you get this, he calls it a capture list. So you write down all your action items. It's what would normally go on your to-do list. So you've got all this stuff. And then you go, okay, how do some of these relate to each other?
Yep.
And then, so what he recommends is you put them in OPA blocks. And what the blocks are is the O for outcome. You put them in blocks based on the outcome.
Okay.
So you might have a bunch of tasks that are just... maybe they're all related to getting your tour scheduled.
Right.
Like, where are we going to pick people up? Which places are we going to? Blah, blah, blah. And, so, okay, how can I most efficiently deal with that? Which are the must items? Can I do all of those on a certain day and be efficient about it? Can I delegate those to certain people?
Right.
So what he recommends is go ahead and write all this stuff, do the brain dump onto the capture list, but so that you don't freak yourself out with like 55 items on a list.
Right.
Just put the 3 outcomes or the 5 outcomes or whatever. You go, oh, I'm really only trying to do like 4 things.
Right.
I'm trying to schedule this tour that I'm doing. I'm trying to finish up on this project that has a deadline.
Yep.
Whatever. And okay, cool. So instead of doing 55 things randomly, which outcome am I going to attack first?
Yep.
Okay, the deadline is urgent and important. Let's do that. And then, okay.
And cool. I think that's important. It's like you can write a giant list of 55 things if they all need to be done, but then you need to take that list and you need to say, how many of these am I realistically going to get done on Monday? How
Mhm.
many on Tuesday? Because otherwise it's just going to be a list, and the list is going to be overwhelming, and you're not
Yeah.
going to do any of it.
Right.
So I think you need to be really realistic with. I will take a blank sheet of paper and write Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Yeah.
Thursday, and write out this is going to get done on Monday, this is going to get done on Tuesday.
Cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're basically doing what he recommends.
Yeah.
Because that's
yeah.
what he talks about. Plan
If I
your
don't
weeks,
do
not
that,
your days,
that
is what he
is
says.
the worst productivity and positivity killer, for
Yeah.
sure. If I don't do that, I'm a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's my number one
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah. It did strike me that you do take on a lot of things at once sometimes.
Yeah.
You know
Too
what?
much.
This is just total like speculation.
Yeah.
I'll ask you. I don't know if anybody knows, but
Yeah.
it seems to me that, well, a fact is that most of the time when I talk to somebody that is kind of like taking on a whole bunch of things and gets in that overwhelmed spot, it's almost always women, in my experience. And also in my experience was I was in real estate back in Bellingham, Washington, and there are these people in a real estate transaction. They're the escrow officer, right?
Yeah.
So they figure out everything down to the penny. They switch over the gas bill and blah, blah, blah. They pay the real estate agents. They pay the appraiser, all that stuff. And they'll have, I don't even know how many deals they'll have going on at one time. A typical real estate agent might have like, 5 deals going on. And then the escrow agent will have like 50 or who knows. And it's just insane how many timelines they're dealing with. In my hometown, I don't know how many there were total of those people. Maybe like 30 or 40 or something. One was a guy.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I've heard that women in general tend to be better multitaskers than most men, and men tend to be more like focus oriented. Like, I'm doing this task now. Let's do this.
That's interesting. I outsource. I do some technical writing, a lot of technical writing for clients, and I outsource to different people. And the best people that I outsource to are people that I've met here in Chiang Mai. And I've noticed that the women will get their stuff done half the time that the men do. And I swear it's because the men, they will do a little bit and then they'll like get distracted and do something else and do a little bit. But women they probably get just as distracted, but they'll keep doing it while they're doing something else. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe you have to do that to be a mother. I don't know.
Well, that's what some people say, I think.
Yeah.
I think and again, this is stuff I looked at a while ago, so I don't remember all the details, but I think some people think it's like an evolutionary thing. Like, you are trying to protect this child while you make a fire, and you're cooking something over here, and you're like, I don't know, building something over here. And meanwhile,
you know what? A great example is the mall. Like, women shopping around the mall, and they look at everything, and men are like, I need socks, and they go straight to the socks.
They go to the directory map.
Yeah.
Because they know what store they're going to. Yeah, sock store, level 2, east wing, let's go.
And that's why women can, like, sit around in girls' nights and, like, hee, chat, and men are like, they have to go do something. I don't think there's many guys that are like, let's go out for a boys' night, and they like all just go out and sit around. It's like they have to have something to do.
Death.
You have to go, like, you can go have a boys' night, but you'll go
play
watch
pool.
the game, or play pool, or
softball,
go paintballing. It's like you don't actually just let's go. The girls plan like we're gonna go to this place and we're gonna sit and do nothing except talk. And guys can't do that.
I've actually been with like girls I was dating.
Yeah.
And once in a while, a guy gets caught up in one of those nights.
Yep.
And like you said, it just drives me crazy. Like, everybody's just sitting around a table.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey,
it's like, when are we gonna go do
somebody want to play darts? Like,
but girls are like, we are doing something. Actually, we're doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm networking for my business,
right.
and I'm talking about where I'm gonna get my next pedicure. And I'm gleaning this information and enjoying this.
And I'm thinking of one particular time.
Yeah.
I was at a place called Downtown Johnny's in Bellingham, Washington. And this group of girls was doing what you're talking about, and I just was dying to go shoot some pool or something, but nobody else really seemed to want to leave the group. It was like that would be kind of rude.
Yep.
And so I wasn't just going to go play pool by myself, so I wound up just sitting there for a long time. And I'm not really good at faking it. Like, if I'm not having a good time, you can tell. I just I'm not smiling, like.
I leave.
And the girl I was with was like, what's wrong? I'm like, well, what do you mean? I'm just sitting here. Like, come on, I'm bored out of my mind. Anyway, so I guess maybe the mother thing and the...
You know what's interesting, though, is as a girl who likes to do that thing, I can't do that unless I've got my work and stuff and all my goals under control. Like, if I have, like, tons... Like, right now, I said I'm in the middle of this project. I'm kind of stressed.
Thank you for taking time for this, by the way.
Absolutely. Thank you for thanking me.
Yeah.
I appreciate your appreciation. But I can't schedule a girls' night, or I can't go to dinner with my girlfriend, because a lot of people would think like, oh, it's been a long day.
You need a break.
And I need a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, people here like, they'll invite me for lunch and they'll be like, I've said I'm too busy, and they said, well, you have to eat, and I said, no, I don't. I have to get this done, or else I'm gonna freak out. So, I can't enjoy those social events unless I finish what I've tasked today. Otherwise, I just think about it the whole time. Like yesterday,
Yep.
It was interesting. I blog, and I get invited by a ziplining company to come try their ziplining course for free in exchange for writing a review.
Cool.
And
did I see that in the Nomads group?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
cool.
can go do it if you want.
Great.
Yeah, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, but I really had a terrible time not because of the ziplining course,
Okay.
because I'm in the middle of this project, and I
Yeah.
agreed to do this 3 weeks ago before the project was here, and the whole time I was like, I have like 6 hours
Yeah.
of work when I get home, and this is a full day event, and I'm gonna get home and I'm gonna work till 1 a.m, and so I just didn't enjoy myself,
Right.
even though it was this awesome event, and how cool is it to do it for free, be invited to do that,
Yeah, right.
and I just like ruined it for myself because I didn't follow my system that I know works for me.
Mhm.
I didn't get the stuff done first, so.
That's a
Yeah.
big topic right there.
Yep.
You weren't, because
And-
the way some people would say that is
Yeah.
not anything against you, but
and I had
you
a
weren't
bad attitude.
you
and it
weren't able
ruined
to
it.
be present.
Yep, I wasn't
right?
able to be present.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're familiar with Eckhart Tolle by chance. Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
like we've read all the same books.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Power of Now and A New Earth talks about that all the time.
Absolutely.
You know, and like I get where you're coming from, because I'm like that too.
Yeah.
But if you're already there, it
And
sure
I
would
even
be
tried
nice.
that. I was like, look, you're already here.
Yeah.
The bus, you came on one big bus. The bus isn't gonna leave till 5 o'clock, so you might as well enjoy
Right.
it. And that was me failing to take my own advice and being positive and putting a positive spin on something and being in the moment, which is important.
Yeah. It is sometimes easier said than done.
We all fail
Yeah.
at what
Yeah.
works for us.
I had a thing today which kind of relates to that, but also when you said the guy was sitting too close to you,
Yeah.
I was trying to find, okay, my mattress is like sleeping on a sheet of plywood, right? Which is pretty common
Yeah.
around here. So I have been looking for a mattress topper.
Okay.
So
Which I saw one in the Facebook page.
what?
Yeah.
Is it king size?
I don't know. It's in the Chiang Mai Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah. See, we just
I'll go
networked.
check
I
it
just
out.
helped
Yeah.
you.
But my mattress is super hard. So the first thing I do, being American, I go look at Amazon.
Right.
Do they deliver here? Well, some things, yes,
Yeah.
but they don't have mattress toppers. Okay.
Right.
So then some guy in my building that I just met, he tells me, like, go get a mattress at this place. It's behind Mike's Burgers. Okay. Google map search, Mike's Burgers. There it is. Went over there today with my girlfriend on the back of the scooter. Have you met Preem?
I met her once when we were playing your personal development board.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Super sweet.
Yeah.
And so basically, the map is okay, but there's this market going on the street we're supposed to be on, and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And it's just chaotic, and I start getting irritated.
Yeah.
Because we're like going back and forth, and I know we must be close, but where is it?
And sometimes in Thailand, the streets don't work.
Yeah.
They just stop working.
Yeah, and I'm stuck behind guys literally with like wheelbarrows full of stuff for the market.
Yeah.
Like, okay, get all the
Yeah.
garlic
People
out of the
driving
way.
the wrong
Like,
way down
yeah,
there.
right.
Yeah.
You know, and she's trying to help, and she has her iPhone out, and she's got Google Maps up, but you know the little like where am I, the locate
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Something about her privacy, like that won't work because it doesn't
She
have the
doesn't have her
location
location
turned
on,
on.
yeah.
And she couldn't figure out how to get it on, and so we knew we were supposed to be, and we
Yeah.
thought we knew where we were, but we didn't know for sure.
When you're in the middle of all this chaos.
Yeah, and I find myself like having to really watch. I'm trying to recognize, okay,
Mhm.
I'm getting pissed off.
Yeah.
What is pissing me off? Because I want to be at this mattress place. I know I'm close,
Yeah.
blah, blah. It shouldn't be this hard. All
Right.
these really like worthless thoughts
Yeah.
and complaints are going through my head, right? We should have been there by now.
Yeah.
It's hot. Like, yeah, it's hot. You chose to come to Thailand.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
what's
the
your
thing.
problem?
Travel teaches you that a lot. Like I have a friend who I've traveled with before, and she always gets really mad when things don't work out.
Yeah.
And I get so frustrated because I don't know, maybe this is me being annoying and this positivity, but I'm always like, why are you so upset? This is just part of the adventure.
Yeah.
It's like I get so frustrated. I'm like, if you're not gonna have a good time, then just leave. It's
Mhm.
like just enjoy it. Enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and you know how you said you took it out on Derek, I think it was?
Yeah.
So-
Sorry, Derek.
I was really like, okay, because I noticed my tone was changing
Yeah.
with Preem,
Mhm.
who's the sweetest person ever.
Right.
And she's trying to help me. I
Yeah.
mean, she's the one on the back with her phone she's like, and
Right.
she's asking directions in Thai, which I
Yeah.
don't speak. She's being super
She's
helpful.
your greatest asset
Right.
at this moment.
And I'm like getting, like, it's her fault that I don't know
Right.
where the mattress store is, right? Just,
Right.
yeah, it's ridiculous. So recognizing that, I don't really like traffic. I don't really like busy cities. That's not my thing. I'm more of like a green space kind of guy.
Yep.
So we tried and we went up and down the same couple of streets a few times and asked a couple different people who pretended like they might know. And then after 3 minutes, it became obvious they had no clue. And so I'm like, all these worthless thoughts going through my head. This guy's wasting my time. He's just scared to admit he doesn't know where it is and all this.
Which happens all
I've
the time.
heard this is how it works in Asia. People they don't want to admit they don't know where
So
something
not
is.
only are you now blaming your girlfriend, you're just blaming Asia.
Yeah, and I'm just like complaining. I wasn't verbalizing
Yeah.
it, but I'm just pissing and moaning in my own head, right?
Yeah.
It's just making me feel like not good. And I just realized at some point, I'm like, this is over.
Yeah.
I don't care that much about the mattress. It's not worth ruining my day. And I'm just like, let's go. And I tried not to say it like an a-hole.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, let's just go home. I got to get out of here. I'm about to go crazy, and just ended it. Like, I wish I could just deal with this. I wish I was Eckhart Tolle and was like, oh, this is so funny that we're lost.
Yeah.
But since I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm just going to end it. I'm going to get myself out of the situation.
Because I wonder if you felt that way. Like, okay, when you're traveling and that kind of stuff happens, it's no big deal and it's all part of the adventure.
Mm-hmm.
When it's part of your life
Mm-hmm.
and you are living in Chiang Mai and you are looking for a mattress topper
Yeah.
for your bed because you live here,
Yeah.
for some reason it's a problem all of a sudden.
And I had an appointment about 2 hours from that point in time. It was a little after noon, and I knew I had to meet you at 2.
So why do you think it's fun, all fun and games when you're traveling around, and problem and stress when you're
That is a
settled
really
somewhere?
good question.
Because I feel like a lot of people that are settled with a real job are really, really stressed out all the time.
You know what I think maybe is the answer? Because you just made me think, if what I had chosen to go do was go ride around that part of town just to see it, that would have seemed fun.
Exactly.
And that's what I was doing.
And you would have dealt with the traffic differently.
Even though I live here.
And got out and walked around.
Yeah. Got some stuff at the market instead of being pissed off that they were in my way.
Some street food.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. And I think so what it was I was attached to a certain outcome.
Yep.
And I was pissed off that it wasn't going that way. Which Eckhart Tolle talks about. I saw some recording of a talk he gave, and he was imitating somebody who like hadn't mastered these principles yet. And he said, what is? No, I'm against that. It's like, wait, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's what is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're against it. All that's going to change is how you feel.
Right.
Being against what is doesn't change what is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can take productive action to change it.
Right.
Like asking for directions.
But you're not going to change it by wishing it was different.
Right. Yeah. Being pissed off doesn't change it. So that was, so I guess part of my hesitation, maybe part of the reason I delayed starting this podcast was like, am I going to call this OD on life? Is that going to mean like, what, I'm somebody's guru and I'm perfect or something? Like, that's not what I want to do here at all. And it's cool that you've been like honest about times when it doesn't work for you. And because I think,
of course, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. No one is going to be on the ball all the time.
Yeah. Wayne Dyer, are you familiar with him too at all? He's pretty cool. Written about 1 million books. But he talked about it's not about being better than someone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday.
Right.
Just making a little step.
Right.
And sometimes you'll take a step backwards, whatever, that happens.
A great book for that. Do you know Jeff Olson? He wrote a book called The Slight Edge, which is about taking small steps, many small steps to get big results. So it's like things like you want to be flexible. Maybe you can just stretch for 5 minutes a day. And it'll compound. It's about compounding small steps over time. And he has these charts available, which are really cool. And it's literally just a grid with a bunch of squares. And at the bottom is failure and the top is success. And you start in the middle. And every day you take your small step and you either do a square below or a square above. And you basically create this graph. And it's just every day that you don't take the step, you're going further away from your goal. And every day that you do take the step, you're going closer to your goal. And it's literally, it just makes it a picture of taking small steps over time and how it compounds into success.
Yeah. I've found that idea really useful of remembering that most things happen in small steps.
Yeah.
Not everything.
Yeah.
But
most things.
You don't have to make an earth-shattering thing happen today.
And anything that you see that's an earth-shattering thing happen today is probably an explosion of a bunch of small steps.
Right.
Yeah.
There's this is super cheesy too, since we're getting really cheesy. You ever heard and I always wonder, is it a metaphor? Is it an analogy? I always mix those up. But the Chinese bamboo, have you ever heard about?
No.
Okay, so you plant it and you have to water it. I don't know if it's every day or every week or what.
Yeah.
But it grows like almost nothing above the ground, maybe nothing for like 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
But it's building this crazy root structure and stuff and like, I don't know, storing energy or whatever it is that plants do. But it's all happening underground and you cannot see it. And then I want to say like 4 or 5 years down the road, but you have to water the thing on a regular basis or else it's never going to grow. But you just keep pouring water basically on the dirt. And then at some point, years down the road, I think 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or something like that, this thing goes from underneath the ground to like 90 feet tall.
Massive.
Yeah. And they always talk about like the 20-year overnight success.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't hear about this person until this week.
Exactly.
But
they've been doing this the whole time. And the whole thing about pouring water on the dirt is you actually don't see anything happening.
Yeah.
So it's like people always give up. You hear a lot of people give up right before they hit success. And only the people that are successful, so like the people that are movie stars, let's say acting, you want to be an actress.
That's a great example.
Yeah, and movie stars. It's like the A-list movie stars are the people that just went to one more audition than the person that quit before them. And so
pick a movie star, go to their Wikipedia page or their Internet Movie Database or whatever, and look at their early roles. It's probably a bunch of movies you've never heard of.
Exactly. Yeah. They just didn't stop. They just kept doing it, whether they thought they were successful or not. They just kept doing it.
Yeah.
And the person who just keeps doing it badly is always going to be better than the person who stops doing it well. So, yeah. Absolutely.
If you guys want like some outside reading or whatever, go check out. It's actually an audio format. Usually on YouTube you can find it. Anthony Robbins on Sylvester Stallone, or Anthony Robbins' Rocky story.
Oh, I heard that.
Google that. It's amazing. Stallone wrote Rocky, and a lot of people don't realize that. But he had a heck of a time selling the script to anybody. And it took him, I mean, I'm not going to ruin the story for you, but go look into the story of Sylvester Stallone and Rocky.
It's a story of failure and motivation and perseverance.
Yeah, that is one of the most inspiring stories I've ever heard.
Yeah.
For some reason, I really identify with it.
And it's a great story because it's about being a nobody and then making yourself a somebody instead of just someone finding you.
And he knew his outcome.
Yep.
He knew where he was going.
Yep.
And
it's
he
like
knew
he had something good, whether anyone understood it or not.
And these were just bumps in the road. They weren't walls.
Yep.
You know, Randy Pausch, the last lecture, which is awesome. If any of you guys out there haven't heard it, seen it, he was a professor who was diagnosed with cancer and had a short time to live and gave this last lecture. And he talks about obstacles are put there to keep out the people who don't want it as much as you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the obstacles weren't there, it would be crowded inside.
Right. They always say there's lonely at the top or there's more room at the top.
Yeah. So, I mean, just having the right perspective on, you know, quote, failure or obstacles, setbacks, whatever, challenge is huge.
And I think they're there so that by the time you get to where you want to go, you're the person that's supposed to be there as well. So.
Yeah. Jim Rohn always talks about if you want to make it up to that next level, get that promotion, get paid, do more for your company than that position requires.
Yeah, because you need to become that person. Jim Rohn also said the worst, I forget the exact quote, paraphrasing here, but he said the worst thing in the world is someone with $1 million who isn't a millionaire. Yeah. Meaning they don't know how to have $1 million.
And they'll lose it too. Yeah, they'll lose like the lottery or a lot of athletes.
Absolutely.
Big time. They didn't get there because they know about money. They got there because they know about football or whatever. Or, you know. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything awesome because I know you probably is it hot in here or is it just me?
It's
oh my gosh. We're in a room with no fan.
I do have to get back to work. So,
yes.
If there's anything because I want to be present. So.
Yes, I did want to ask you quickly we've talked about a lot of books, documentaries, podcasts, websites, all that kind of stuff. But that was on my list. Is there anything you'd like to recommend or any favorite of yours or something new you're listening to or watching?
Let's see.
Documentary, book, whatever.
So much.
Yeah, it could be more than one.
Well, first of all, I'll recommend one that I haven't read yet, but was recommended to me by an acquaintance who said that when he read this book, it's when it exploded his business. It's called Built to Sell by, I think it's Jeff Warlow or John Warlow. It's called Built to Sell, and it's basically about creating a business that runs without you, and that's how you can automate yourself and go do whatever you want. So you can spend your time building another business or being with your kids or traveling the world, but you're still making money. So
that topic has you interested.
Yeah, but I'd say that's a book for someone who's already doing something and how you can take what you're doing and make it explode.
Yeah.
But I definitely recommend the 4-Hour Work Week if you want to learn how to create an income that runs without you and you don't know where to start. That's a big one.
Yes.
And there's a really good book about making decisions, and it does I don't want to say it's not preachy, but it does have like a spin about a higher power So if you don't like that kind of thing, I'd still recommend it. I think you should just read it. It's called The Traveler's Gift by, I think it's Andy Andrews. It's called The Traveler's Gift, and it's about paying attention to the right things, having the right attitude, and using that to make decisions that will get you where you want to go. So I'd say The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews, The 4-Hour Workweek, and Built to Sell.
I'm going to throw a recommendation in.
Yep.
You mentioned it earlier, but okay, The 4-Hour Workweek is written by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
And he, I think it's just in the last few months, started a podcast. And it's interesting. I really like it.
Cool.
He, what was it?
Talk about a guy who does a lot of things.
Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah.
There's that book, Freakonomics. He interviewed one of the authors of that book. That was really interesting.
Cool.
And then sometimes it'll be more like an essay. Like he'll just talk about a certain topic. So that's been really cool. I've only listened to about 2 or 3 of those.
It's worth it. I haven't checked it out yet.
I'd recommend. I think you'd like it, just based on what you've told me that interests you. So that's the one I want to throw out there. Also, just real quick, I want to skip back. When we're telling people about, basically it's possible, and if you, say that we've piqued somebody's interest in traveling, or they want to go to Australia and pick fruit or whatever. You don't just, you can pick fruit, you can do things like that. You can have a business that operates no matter where you are. You can blog, you can do, something on a computer with, Odesk or Elance or whatever. But I had a friend that he showed me it was possible first. He's the guy that first told me I should go to Thailand. We were standing in the outfield at baseball practice, and he was describing his last trip to Thailand. Hey, I went myself and 2 buddies, so 3 of us, in a bungalow on the beach, $7 a night total on Koh Samui.
Yep.
That particular place is more expensive now. But he said $7 a night. We were splitting that 3 ways. Lunch was like $1. He had me sold in 5 minutes. I said, I'll go. I will go.
Yep.
When are you leaving? I will go with you. And the way he was doing it at the time, if you don't want to start an internet business or you don't want to pick fruit in Australia and go for a year, he was building sport courts. So basically construction.
Right.
And in Washington State, you can really only do that type of stuff about half of the year because of the rain and the cold weather.
Yeah.
So he was making tennis courts, basketball courts for rich people.
Take the winter off.
Yeah, and he didn't even own the business.
Yeah.
He just worked with a guy who did that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You do not have to give up your life back home to do this kind of thing. You can absolutely find a way to do that half the year and travel half the year.
He put aside more than enough money during that 6 months to live like a king the other 6 months.
Right, because people just can't wrap their head around that. I in Chicago, I lived a pretty good lifestyle for around $4,000 a month. Here I live a better lifestyle with a better apartment, going out more, eating better food, doing fun activities for less than $1,000 a month. And people are like, yeah. But I'm like, no. Seriously, my rent for a high-rise apartment is $230 a month. I'm like, I'm not kidding.
It's crazy.
And so that's the thing. That's the best thing is if you fail, if you if I lost all my clients today, I could still live here for 6 months.
Yep.
I bet I could figure out what to do in 6 months.
Yep.
I bet I could figure something out.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's totally true. And even if you're at home and you're listening to this and you already are on some sort of pension or Social Security, again, you can multiply your lifestyle by 4 probably just coming over here if you're listening from any Western country.
Yeah, absolutely. We meet people like that here all the time. And if you don't have someone that you know that can act as a guide like that, a great book to start with is called Vagabonding by a guy named Rolf Potts. And basically he's written a comprehensive guide on how to start traveling long term, whether you want to do it for 1 week, 8 months, 6 months, 5 years, whatever. So he's put together a list of resources, where to find cheap flights, where to find a community once you get somewhere, a community of people. And so it's worth checking out. If you don't have anyone, always go with people you know, of course, because they've done what you want to do. But if you just want to have a resource, then Vagabonding is a cool book and it's a fun story.
It's a recent book?
I don't know how it's not an older.
Yeah.
It's not old, but I don't know how recent it
Okay.
is. Yeah, it's recent. It's within 5 years.
Yeah, cool. All right, great.
Yeah.
And you mentioned couch surfing is another.
Yeah,
good one,
couch surfing
too.
is great. That's a good place to find a community of people. Because anywhere you go, you're going to have a better time if you find local people that are there, or at least someone who's been there a while from home that you feel that you can trust or that would understand you, understand your difficulties with traveling. So
yeah, definitely. I know there are multiple get-togethers every week in this town on couch surfing.
Too many, you can't keep up with them.
Yeah, and you can make one. If you're going to some town,
Absolutely.
you can make the event.
And you should make your own community. I was thinking about this. Dan, you've made the Digital Nomad Facebook group here in Chiang Mai, which has become a phenomenal resource for me, both in business and my social life, and just living here. Like, where do you find organic apples or whatever you want to know? But I think doing that has shown me how important it is to have that kind of community somewhere, and not just like we're all friends. We're going to have fun and ask questions on Facebook, but people, like-minded people, so like entrepreneurs, digital nomads, people working online who want to create a remote income, because they're going to think how I want to think.
Right.
And so now when I go home to Chicago, I'm immediately going to regret leaving Chiang Mai. And I think the first thing I'll do is set up a community there, just for people to bounce ideas off of, see what people are doing in that area, because that's been so valuable for just enhancing my living experiences, having that community there. So
sure.
Yeah, so definitely, if you don't have a community, just make your own.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You don't have to know how to program a website or anything.
Just go on
Facebook group, couch surfing,
yeah.
whatever.
Oh, and I guarantee there's a couch
Meetup.com.
surfing group for you already.
Yeah,
out there.
definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
Well, I want to respect your time because I know I don't want to stress you out. It's good practice though, right?
Yeah.
So thanks for tuning in, everybody.
NotYourParentsLife.com.
is where you can check out Rachel.
Life is awesome.
Yeah, but yours is different, so it works.
Yeah.
Any other things you want to plug?
If people are interested, if they want to find a travel experience where either they want to come and work on developing a remote income or learning how, or even if they have a business and want to work on some challenges with some people that are doing what they're doing, then we're going to do a tour in northern Thailand that starts in October, and you can book it on NotYourParentsLife.com. And it's also a great opportunity for someone who maybe hasn't traveled a lot or might be afraid to travel and wants a really cool experience with some hand-holding involved, then that would be for them as well. So
that sounds really cool. I'm looking forward to kind of looking over your shoulder on that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of I do blog on there as well, so there's a lot of adventures. You can see what we're doing in Thailand, crazy travel stories and tips and tricks. And I also I have a lot of free information on there about how to work online, how to outsource your business, how to start traveling and making money on the road. So there's a lot of free stuff on there.
When you get ready or whenever you're really promoting this thing or whatever, let me know. For doing this podcast, I'll give you a plug on the Positive Thinking page on Facebook and positiveatmosphere.com. And that's my plug too. Go there.
Yeah, and if people want to, if you know anyone or anyone else wants to, I am offering $50 commission for anyone that sends someone to the tour.
Cool.
Or you can get $100 off on your own tour if you want to book the tour and you bring somebody along. So
great.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Rachel.
Definitely.
I appreciate
Thank you, Dan.
Episode number 1.
Yay!
Done.
That's a wrap.
See you later, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.